Yeah, the study we've carried out is looking at why some farmers are successful. So as consultants, we're really privileged going onto farms and seeing farms with similar resources. So they might have the same amount of capital, the same amount of land, the same number of cows, etc. But for some reason, some farmers seem to be more successful than others. And when we're talking about success, in this study we were looking at their financial performance, how the business has grown over the last 3 years, has it grown in terms of capital, in terms of profit as a percentage of turnover, have they a good profit as a percentage of turnover. We also appreciate that being successful there's other things, and farmers don't just do everything for money. But I mean that's really why we've tried to do that study. The study is done in conjunction with Reading University, so again, there is quite a lot of behavioural analysis. So, what we're saying is the difference is the manager that's involved in that farm and the people that are actually managing that farm, and we're saying that potentially would be the difference, and trying to understand that. What we've done is, in terms of the study, when we looked at it, we looked at 100 different farms, we looked at their profitability, and then we asked behavioural questions, and then what we did is a statistical analysis, which was done incredibly robustly with academic support from Reading University, looking at what behaviours they had. And what we found is that a successful farmer focuses on maximising his profit, so every decision he makes is related to, does that generate more profit? So it's again managing the business and making decisions from his head rather than from his heart. Appearing to be successful, so we found that was important to them. And again, I think when you think about individuals and people it's always nice to be associated with a successful person, and if someone's successful, they're generally positive, they make positive decisions, and again that appears to lead to more success in the project that we're looking at. Again, they all share ideas, and they like to use benchmarks, so going to discussion groups, and actually that appreciation that even though they have got a farming system and it's running quite well, they can always do things a little bit better, and very willing to learn, and obviously a benchmark. With a lot of these things, we actually try to associate an economic value as well. So, for example, with benchmarks, we found out that farmers that were using benchmarks at least once a year actually made £10,000 more profit on average. So again, which is quite an interesting work within this project. We also found that they spend more time on their farming and less time doing admin in the office. So again, they're out and about. They're playing to their strengths, using their key skills of improving the performance of the animals, managing the staff, obviously observing what's going on the farm, and again they appear to make more money rather than sat in the office, doing the paperwork. They also found that investing in training in their staff was also very important, and again that actually was about a £4,000 improvement in profitability, those that wanted to pay for training for their staff. And again, that's encouraging staff retention. It's also motivating the staff. It means that their staff, you're more able to perhaps delegate things to their staff, and also the staff are sort of more aware of the impacts they can have on the farm profitability. And the other thing as well is that they understand their own management strengths and weaknesses. And I mean, I work for a large business, and again, we do quite a lot in terms of management training. But it is that just appreciation of there's things I'm good at and there's things I'm not quite so good at. Being aware of that and trying to play to your strengths and do something about your weaknesses. Sometimes you can't do things completely about your weaknesses, but you can always think about there might be somebody else within the farming system that really enjoys doing the things that you perhaps aren't very good at, and that's a good way to that's a good way to be. I think the first thing farmers can do is to just sort of stand back and think about how the impact of their management style actually influences the farm. And I know it's very difficult in terms of family farms. Quite often they sort of inherit that situation, and I think it is a case of actually just standing back, thinking what things am I actually very good at, what things aren't I so good at, and is there a different way of doing stuff. Again, this is something that we are trying to sort of develop in terms of our own consultancy business, is trying to help farmers to start to appreciate their strengths and weaknesses, which again I appreciate is more easy for us because we do actually go around to a number of farms and we can see the ways that a lot of different people are doing it, and help farmers to understand that. I mean, the principles of the things we're coming up with, I mean, you know, from the areas we feel where some farmers are more successful, I think can be applied to anything. In fact, I think it can perhaps be applied to any type of business. And again, I think what we'd like to do is to use some of the stuff that has been developed in terms of management styles and that sort of thing, probably for other industries, I think could actually be applied to farming in the same way. I mean, what we'd like to do, we'd like to sort of develop this theme. So, I mean, if there are any farmers out there that do want to perhaps take a bit of an internal look in terms of their management style, and we can perhaps work with them with Reading University, then you know, I think that would be a really good start, and could really be trying to understand this area for the agricultural industry.